What's up, everybody? Happy with Cage, episode 268, Monday morning episode. Um, it's funny, I woke up after a nice long holiday weekend and said to myself that if I had a whole day, I could probably do 10 relevant and engaging hobby episodes. But I'm just going to start with one, brought to you today by Arena Club and by Card Ladder. And use my code CAGE. People have been using it. I get little emails like, when people use it. So use code CAGE. It must be a good discount. If you haven't signed up for Card Ladder yet, what are you living under a rock? Card Ladder. There you go. So anyway, loads of fun. I used it this weekend. Went to a card show, and that would have been one of my episodes also. And maybe I'll do that one later today or tomorrow or whenever it is, because I went to a card show, and it's the first time my son is like, all right, we can leave. Normally, if I leave it up to him, we would close the show every single time. Doesn't matter if we get there at 10 in the morning, we're going to stay there till 5 o'clock. This one, he was ready to go. So there's a little teaser for another day. This one, I like to keep them short. I say 5 minutes. I don't think I've ever really done a 5-minute episode. I think they always wind up being 10, 12, 13 minutes. And I'm sure this one will be the same. But it's a funny thing. Sometimes I talk to folks in the hobby friends, we'll call them. And after 5 or 8 minutes of back and forth and arguing and, elevated volume and, my having my say and they're having theirs, I say to myself, that would have been a great episode. We should have just recorded that and made it an episode. So I'm going to do my best to kind of, capture a conversation, a hobby conversation that I had with a couple different people this weekend and see if I can distill it down to a funny thing. And then let me know what you guys think. The baseline of this is people who call this a hobby and just do this to collect their cards and just have cards and try to say that it doesn't matter what their cards are worth. They just collect this because they enjoy having cards. Okay. That's a hobby. For the other 99.8% of the people in the space who actually, care about what their stuff is worth. Maybe I'm poo-pooing some of the collectors and I probably shouldn't be. But even when you're just a collector, you don't want your stuff to be worthless. So I mean, let's try to be honest with ourselves, have some listening integrity here and don't go all nuts to say, oh, I'm just a collector. I don't care what they I want them to go down so I can buy more. I get it. Just bear with me for this one before we take out the I'm a collector versus investor pitchforks and derail this thing before we even get it started, okay? I think as a baseline, one of the things that most people in this space want is they want it to grow. Because I think just generally speaking, and this could be any space, generally speaking, more people involved is a better thing. More money in the space is a better thing. More eyeballs, institutional money, if you want to go even further, having athletes involved, having, big money involved, having, the Wonder Shine Index. I mean, having the cards and our space and our hobby, our industry on, Fox Business and on ESPN. And that, generally speaking, you have to admit that is a good thing. Okay. And the way that you continue having good things like that is the space gets better. We grow. We do better things. We bring in more people, more eyeballs, more money. The people down the block want to know about it, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So let's just use that as a baseline. I understand there are some people out there who want less people and less money involved because they just want to collect the cards of the player they like. Fine. You could still listen to this, okay? Point taken. I got you. I love you. Now, one hobby friend has been, I'm going to say, knocked off his axis a little bit by the recent developments in shilling. And this is not somebody who came in the last couple of years, somebody who's been here for a long time. And I think his take would be that it was an eye-opening event. The P. Ryan stuff, the snipe stuff, the things that have happened that are headline news for our space, not for real world, but for our space, that basically shine a light on shilling, on house bidding, on bidding practices, on auction houses, etc. I have to tell you guys, my take on it was I was not surprised. right? And take that for whatever it's worth, right? I mean, maybe I've been in the space for a long time and remember the Mastro stuff, and I'm not saying it's all above board and it's all good. It's just maybe I'm desensitized to it. Maybe I know that auction houses can place bids up to reserves. Maybe I just understood that this was going on, and I also understood that like every other space, there's an underside to it, an underbelly, an upside down. Let's use the Stranger Things reference now that that's out here, right? That's not just cards. It's not just our space. I mean, people are being prosecuted for insider trading all the time. You know what I mean? And then there's other, not just criminal stuff, but there's other things that go on, right? And so why would our space be immune to that? Why would cards, where there's no regulation at all, really? And it's funny because another hobby friend, while listening to this hobby friend go on about how, that it's a breakdown in trust, and that how do you get the big money and big names, and how do you grow our space when there is a lack of confidence, and that there are people out there like Jeremy Lee, who I happen to like. People maybe don't think that's it. I happen to like Jeremy Lee, but he's now going all crazy, making terms of services and blah, 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 and, putting them all together. And he was shocked by this. So the average hobby person says, wow, if he was shocked, I have to be shocked too. And it's going to shake the confidence of the whole space. No. The other hobby friend says, hey, remember a little while ago when everybody was going crazy about the CT scanning? Remember when Boston Card Hunter was on his high horse about that? And he's on his high horse about this now. And next week he'll be on his high horse about something else and blah, blah, blah. And it's an interesting thing. I'm not excusing it. Please understand where I'm coming from. I'm just saying, last week I posted a news, hobby news of me on a beach smoking a cigar saying, hey, go find a beach, go find a sunset, go find a sunrise. Go take a break from this, because when you come back next week, the hobby will still be doing its same stuff, and the hobby will still be doing whatnot stuff. They'll be mad at people on whatnot. They'll be mad at breakers. There'll be someone scamming somebody. There'll be this, and this. And people are like, wow, that was a great news. There's so much craziness going on this week. And I had to tell them, I recorded that in February. I just reposted it, because the point is it's on repeat. And that no matter what, in this space or any other space, there's going to be bad actors. I'm not excusing them. I'm not saying we should let them in. I'm not saying we should give them 14 extra second chances. I'm not saying we should turn a blind eye. I'm just saying that this is part of life. And the hobby specifically, especially on social media, on Instagram, and you name it, we tend to kind of jump on the issue of the day. Let's make a big deal about the CT scanning. Who's talking about CT scanning anymore? Nobody. Because a new issue has come and replaced it. That was killing everybody. Oh my God, you can't have sealed wax anymore because it's been CT scanned. That was like the biggest news since I don't know, the news that happened the week before it, and then the news that happened the week after it. And now we got this big news. And people will forget this big news because some other big thing will come, some other scam, some other nonsense. But what's amazing about it is that the hobby, it's basically indestructible. It's like Teflon Don, they called John Gotti, right? The hobby just endures. It just keeps going, right? No matter how many times you want to, take the exit ramp of lunacy and craziness and that week's hot topic of nuts. I'm not saying anybody is wrong here. We should be shining a light on this. We should not be allowing ourselves to be taken advantage of. You should be educating yourself as best as you can. And if Jeremy Lee is going to put together a handbook of all of the auction house terms of service, great. It'll be easier to find it because some of those things are kind of buried. But if you look, you can find it. That's how he's going to get it. It's nice to have it all kind of in one place. I mean, until everybody updates them, and then he'll have to update. That's great. I'm all for educating. I'm all for making sure that you're an educated consumer. There's a lot of money being thrown around in this space. There's a lot of money, being spent on cardboard. No one should be taking advantage of somebody else. And let's make sure that that's clear. What I'm saying is we have this like outrage, this craziness for like a quick burst, and then boom, it's gone. Right? We have people who come in and make videos and whip people up into a frenzy and then disappear. And they don't show up again until the next thing to whip people into a frenzy. And the last thing is forgotten. They're not on that. It's not going to get as many views. I mean, Boston Card Hunter did a video today about CT scanning instead of on shill bidding or auction houses. No one would watch it because it's old news already. Even though nothing has been done, nothing has changed about it. It's just not what people are focusing on today. So I ask you to think about that just in the hobby sense, because what's getting you all whipped up today won't be what whips you up next week. Because the people who make the videos and get all crazy, they'll have something else. And a week later, and a month later, it'll be something else. This week, it was Rick Probsty. Remember P. Ryan? Like everybody I haven't heard his name. That's like 2 weeks gone. And next week, somebody else will do something else. Maybe you guys will all be coming for me because I made this video. I don't know. I hope not. I'm just trying to make what I consider a simple point here, and that is 98% of the space is probably good. My hobby friend says there are cockroaches involved, though, and he's right. And we should not give the cockroaches a pass, and we should shine lights on the cockroaches, and we should try to get them out of the space. And, big money is got to be aware that, like every other space, there is that underbelly. There is there are all those people who are out for themselves and will operate in the gray and sometimes beyond the gray to make a buck. That's not just this space. It's every space. I guess what I come on here today is to say, maybe as a hobby consumer of, cards and or content, don't get so crazy in this stuff. I mean, education, sure. Watch it, sure. Make sure you know about the terms and services of the terms of service for the auction houses that you're bidding on. Make sure you understand, the rules in an auction that you're going to bid on. Make sure you understand, what's going on here. Make sure before you buy wax, you understand that CT scanning is a thing. Educating yourself, knowing what there is to be known, that's important. And the content that's made is good for that reason. But beyond that, don't go down the rabbit hole. At least is my take, right? Don't because you're going to wind up following some content down a rabbit hole, and then the content will leave. The content creator will leave and start digging new holes the next week and some other thing, and you're just left there in the hole, thinking that the whole thing is bad. It's all bad. It's fraud everywhere. There's bad actors every place, right? And I think, while I'm not excusing them, not in any shape or form, my experience in this space is that the vast majority of people here are good. They're good people. The vast majority of people here just want to collect cards. They just want to buy cards. They want to invest in cards. They want to, chase cards of players they like. They like kabooms. They want to buy kabooms. They want to go to shows and buy cards and sell cards. And, people have fun in this space. It's a fun, fast-moving, fast-paced, space. There are bad actors in it. I mean, I think no matter what space you're in, there are bad actors. And I think if you, spend so much of your time focusing on the bad actors, you kind of get a bad taste in your mouth of the space. And that doesn't help. Because if you're like me, you love the hobby. And you just want to, you want to be a hobby participant. So, listen, I get down and dirty and I make silly content every once in a while and I go after people and you name it. So I'm not immune to it as well. But I felt like coming on here today and, kind of recapping some of the conversations that I was having with, some hobby friends, because it was interesting to watch. I mean, I'm talking about people who have a lot of money invested in a lot of high-end cards and they're not concerned about their cards at all. That is not it. There was never a moment of, wow, this stuff that's going on, it's going to decrease the value of my cards. No, that's not where this comes from. It comes from almost a concern for others in the space, a concern for people who are coming in who might not be as educated or might not know, as much. And then more so for the space and the growth of it overall. Because if the headlines are always going to be bad, who wants to be here? What new spender is coming in? What new money is coming in? What new business is coming in? But by the same token, my response is I'll make a headline, of an episode or a thing talking about how great the hobby is and how much I love cards, and no one will watch it. So you got to be mindful of, people put thumbnails up, right? I just use whatever it is, but there's a reason why every single content creator out there, their YouTube videos like this. Oh my God, look, with a big surprise face or a big, oh my God, I just got punched in the nose kind of face, because it draws people in. The headlines, the sensationalism, all that draws people in, right? And the negative stuff, the hot topic of the week, that draws people in also. So be mindful of that. I guess it's, kind of where I'm going. I extended this one a little bit longer. But it was just something that's on my mind today. I'm wondering what you think. Should we not gloss over this stuff? Do we need to pay more attention to, to what's causing the hobby drama? Is that the only way it really changes and we make it better? Do we need to stay on these people and, force it out? Or, do you, tend to agree with me, which is, the hobby does a pretty good job of kind of weeding out the bad actors, or, making sure that the bad actors are known. And, I think 99, 98, whatever percent you want to use, right? 99.44% of the space are good people just looking to have fun, enjoy the hobby, make a little money if they can, et cetera, et cetera. You think I'm wrong? Let me know. And there you go. There's my 5-minute, which turned into 17 minutes, brought to you today by Card Ladder. Use code CAGE. Get yourself a discount, and by Arena Club. I will talk to you guys soon. Hope you enjoyed this one. A little different one. So, I guess everyone's different. Talk to you guys soon.